Hello, everybody. Megazard X here, back at it again to give you another very exciting video. And for today, you know what? Rewind the clock a little bit. In December was the last time we got an update for some future N64 games coming on the service. They somehow managed to hit us with that triple whammy Christmas miracle where they gave us Jet Force Gemini, Harvest Moon 64, as well as 1080 snowboarding. And since then, we had not gotten any updates for the N64 service. And with the conclusion of those three games, we gotten every single N64 game that was listed on that banner of all future N64 games we could expect when they first originally dropped the system, though. So that kind of leaves the question, what could we be expecting next for the Nintendo 64? We kind of already been down this track a little bit with the NES as well as the Super Nintendo systems, because we're long past the days of when they show that banner and what we can actually expect, though. So it kind of begs the question, are we going to be kind of getting some things randomly shot in the dark, or could we get a future banner that could show us everything we could expect? So in today's video, I just want to go through and just give my thoughts on what games we could possibly still expect to see coming out on the N64 system. While yes, we've gotten a lot of first-party games, there's still, a few first-party games that are missing, a handful of rare games I would love to see, and a few third-party games I think it'd still be possible for us to get on the NSO service, though. But if you hadn't already done so, make sure to go and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. All right, so to kick things off, Resident Evil 2. I think there's a good chance we could still get this. Now, obviously, when y'all hear Resident Evil 2, a lot of y'all might be thinking about, the Resident Evil 2 remake that we gotten like on the PlayStation systems and Xbox systems at this point in time, though. While yes, those remakes are extremely good and, are extremely promising for a lot of people out there, and I gave a lot of hope for the Resident Evil franchise in terms of remakes. Like we had the Resident Evil 2 remake, the 3 remake, the 4 remake, though. I still think it could be in Capcom's best interest to be like, hey, we can just give you the vanilla version, the ROM of an original N64 game that happened to drop out on the system back in the day. I still think that's actually possible. It wouldn't necessarily detour from the series in general, though, but it probably would actually add a little bit of extra life up in it, though, just to be able to go through it and play the classic Resident Evil games that was on the N64 games. I think there's still a little bit of merit and a little bit of value to actually, just show people, hey, this is where we started and look where we are right now, though. So who knows, especially if we happen to have a Switch successor in the future and if they somehow manage to pull a miracle port of introducing the Resident Evil 2 remake on that system, though. I mean, who's to say, and natively, not like no cloud version or nothing like that, though. And who's to say that this can help benefit and introduce people into the series, though? So I still think that's a good chance right there. All right, next up on the list, I have Goemon's Great Adventure. Now, this game right here is one that I was looking at and I was trying to pick through and figure out some kind of other third-party game that could possibly pique somebody's interest. And lo and behold, I was like, I don't know how this one managed to slip my mind, though. But yes, this was a game that was developed by Konami back in the day, though. With the series as a whole, I know the first iteration, it was like almost like a Japan exclusive thing originally. And then slowly but surely, we started getting some entries from the series, and that was managed to get brought over here to the West, though. But within this game right here, it's basically like a quirky story that highlights Goemon's quest to stop the evil Bismaru, who has stolen Wise Man's resurrection machine. So Goemon and his friends must journey through 5 different worlds to battle the revived Dochuki, Prince of the Underworld, and destroy the capture device. And each world is designed with Japanese styles and themes, and Goemon's Great Adventure continues the series tradition of offbeat, surreal humor, though. So within this game, it's like, you know what? I was just looking at some of the footage for this game, and it's like, it's rare because obviously with the Nintendo 64 as we know it, it's obviously, a 3D system. We saw a lot of different games, whether it be shooting games or, just adventuring, platforming games and stuff like that done in the 3D space. However, with this game, it's 3D models and stuff, but still as a 2D platformer. So that's kind of interesting. I was like, you know what? I think this will actually vibe quite well with the NSO audience. Not only that, where you're going through and just doing a full-blown story player mode within a 2D platformer on this Nintendo 64, you actually have co-op up in there, so you can play up to like 4 different people up while you're trying to go through and progressing through this game. Kind of similar to how certain Kirby games had like that co-op where you can run through it with 4 different people. So it's kind of similar like that, that though. And Goemon, I want to say there might be some people out there that kind of want to have this character brought over in Smash. Like I've been playing a little bit of Smash Remix, and I know that character has been added into that mod of that game though. So that's how I kind of got first introduced to this series though. So it would be really cool to see get a little bit of life back up into this Konami game and actually drop it for the NSO. All right, now that we gotten a couple of third-party games out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into these rare games, because I have a good handful of ones I think could manage to make it to the NSO service. Starting off with Perfect Dark. Well, yes, we already have GoldenEye 007 on the service, though. The brother to that game is obviously Perfect Dark. Rare happened to develop it after GoldenEye, especially after, they could have kept going with the GoldenEye series, but who knows with licensing and stuff, they decided, hey, let's just move away and make our own new IP for it, though, and you managed to get Perfect Dark. There's not a whole bunch of games on the N64 that have like that first-person shooter vibe to it, though. I think they managed to incorporate a lot of good things from GoldenEye and managed to do it within this game. Now, obviously, if you were comparing it and you were asking people, hey, what's your preference, GoldenEye or, Perfect Dark, a lot of people are probably going to mention GoldenEye for the nostalgia and stuff. Me personally, I do like GoldenEye a little bit better, though, but it'll be interesting to actually see, Perfect Dark actually come out here on the system, because I think that would add a fairly good amount of personality as well as diversity within the NSO service right there. Next up, I have Blast Corps. Now, this one right here, I had to do a little digging up on this one though, but it's another game that happened to be developed by Rare, and essentially you're just trying to guide this nuke that's on a truck through some cities, through some towns and stuff. Obviously, if that truck were to hit something, a building, whatever it may be though, and this happens to blow up. So this is kind of like an action puzzle game. Like you're just going around just wrecking a whole bunch of stuff. That like, who doesn't like this playing a game? Just just be chill, playing it on the couch and stuff like that, and then just having to be wrecking stuff, just kind of clear out a path so that way this truck that's carrying this nuke doesn't happen to blow up though. It's essentially what you're doing in this game. Obviously, it starts off a little bit more simpler, but then as you go through level from level to level, the difficulty manages to increase, and then the puzzle elements in terms of like how quickly you can go through and just demolish the path for this truck so that way you can get from point A to point B, it starts to get a little bit more challenging though. So, that might just be a nice little fun game just to add to the NSO right there. This next one, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Now, hear me out on this one. Hear me out. All right, so I managed to see a little bit of footage of this game, from time to time though, and I just love the crude humor up in this game. While yes, it might not be necessarily appropriate to little Johnny over there that might have to be like 7 years old or something like that, it's kind of interesting how we managed to get an update for the NSO over there in Japan. Like there's a standard app, and then there's one that's like almost like an 18 plus app, and that's how they managed to put games such as like GoldenEye and as well as one other game up in there. So the fact that they kind of split that up for age differences, who knows, they might do the same thing over here for the West and stuff for a lot of these games that are kind of marked as mature right now though. So there could be a chance they could do that, and if they happen to do that, then it doesn't necessarily rule out the fact that Conker's Bad Fur Day could be added to the NSO. Like please Nintendo, just find a way to make it possible. Need this game, man. Like the humor up in this game is corny, but it's also funny. Like I was rolling out just seeing some of the jokes that were played up in this game though. But yeah, Conker's Bad Fur Day, we need to make that game happen. Nintendo, work your magic, just make it happen. All right, next up on the list, I have Killer Instinct Gold. Now, obviously, Nintendo 64 wasn't known to have a whole bunch of fighting games. Yes, you had some Mortal Kombats and stuff like that though. A chance that Killer Instinct Gold could happen to make its way over here to the service. Obviously, that's a fighting game, 1v1 up in there, those crazy, wolf versus wolf and stuff like that. I think a lot of people have been clamoring to get another Killer Instinct game, especially with Xbox now that they own that IP, and who knows if and whenever we might get a new one for that though. But in the meantime though, it would be nice to just manage to be able to get the original Killer Instinct Gold, which happened to be like a port from some of the arcade games back in the day though, just on the N64 service though, because right now I don't think there's any fighting games on N64 NSO though. So you know what, this could be the first one on the list though. So who knows, Nintendo, you gotta put some kind of fighting game on that service. Come on, just give us something. And lastly on my list for rare games, I think it come over to the NSO is none other than Banjo-Tooie. Because with that game though, we managed to already get Banjo and Kazooie, and if it weren't for Banjo-Kazooie being added up in here, and then Jet Force Gemini and stuff, and then GoldenEye 007, who knows if we would have been able to get any of these rare games up in here. But Xbox has been playing nice ball with us, so who knows? I think there's a good chance we could manage to get Banjo-Tooie. Obviously, we already had, Banjo and Kazooie up in Smash, though. The partnership with Xbox is going really nicely, though. So who's to say that we don't manage to get the sequel to it right here? Obviously, I think a lot of people prefer the original Banjo and Kazooie in comparison to the second iteration up in here, though. But I think there's, some warrant for us to manage to get the sequel to Banjo and Kazooie up here on the system, though. And out of all the rare games I just listed, this is probably the one with the highest chance of managing to, give us with another rare game in comparison to some of these other games I just recently listed, especially in comparison to Conker's Bad Fur Day. But please give us that game though. But nonetheless, though, I think there's a good chance we can manage to get Banjo-Tooie on the system. All right, so that about does it in terms of most of the rare games. Now, there's a couple more rare games I want to talk about, but obviously those ones have a heavy emphasis on first-party characters adding into the mix, though. And we're going to go ahead and start off this list with Diddy Kong Racing 64. Now, Diddy Kong Racing, please, 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 we need to have another racing game on the system. Obviously, we already have Mario Kart 64, though. And, I heard a lot of good things about Diddy Kong Racing and the fact that you got this whole story mode and stuff. You got a lot of different diverse characters and stuff. The racing plays a little bit different from your traditional Mario Kart and stuff. So it would be really nice to manage to get that game up on there, though. It's, a game I never managed to experience, though, but I heard a lot of good things about it, though. But, with rare games being more so a thing on the NSO service, I think there's a good chance we can manage to get this game over here, though. So I just want to see how this story mode plays out. I just want to see what all the people are hooping and hollering about, though. So, Rare, Microsoft, play ball with us. Manage to give us, Diddy Kong Racing 64. Please, please. All right, this next one, Donkey Kong 64. Now, this one right here, obviously, shoot, when was the last time we managed to get a new Donkey Kong game? It's been over a stinking decade. And at this point, I'm willing to put up with Donkey Kong 64. While yes, I myself has not managed to actually go through and play through this game myself, though. But, this is the one entry in the whole entire Donkey Kong series where they managed to take an attempt to bring Donkey Kong within the 3D space. Obviously, at this point in the game, there should be another game where they make another attempt to, bring Donkey Kong back in the 3D space, though. While yes, not a lot of people really vibe with this. I know some of the platforming stuff was a little bit tight and a little bit rough at times, though. I still think there's, still some promise to actually, bring Donkey Kong 64 over here to the service, because technically it was in the virtual console, like for the Wii U in the past. So, hey, if they managed to put that on the virtual console in the past, I mean, it's only a matter of time you would think that they will actually manage to bring this over within the NSO app itself for the N64, though. So, you know what? I think there's a really good chance that this will happen, though. So, Nintendo, just go ahead and drop it up in there for us. Just make this easy, because y'all been slacking with the Donkey Kong releases. So just give us this game. And lastly, the number one game I feel like that has to happen at some point is Super Smash Bros. 64. Now, with this one right here, obviously, this is like the one last remaining pure first party game out there that's, has a lot of prominence and, fanfare around it, that it's kind of crazy how we managed not to have this game drop on the service just yet. I don't know if they're trying to hold out for something big or special, or like try to give us another one of those banners with some upcoming games up in it and have that being like the marquee title at the very front, though. But it's only a matter of time before we get Super Smash Bros. 64. And, some people are thinking, hey, do you want two Smash Bros. Games on the same system? Obviously, we have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate right now, though. But, these games play quite drastically different. And you know what? Super Smash Bros. Is actually officially 25 years old now, if you look at the original Japanese release, though. So who knows? Who's to say that this could be one of the first N64 games dropping on the service for the year of 2024 that we just don't know about yet? I mean, there's a good chance that might happen to be the case. Maybe they were waiting for the anniversary, though. But nonetheless, though, where they come out with a big brand new banner and stuff and say what could be expected next, or we're just shooting random games out in the dark, Smash Bros. 64 has to be the game that has to come to the NSO service. So that about does it in terms of all the Nintendo 64 games I think could possibly still come out to the NSO service as of this point right now. Obviously, within this given list, I managed to get up to close to around 10 titles for this thing. So that should technically take care of us for 10 or so months, though. So almost enough to kind of last a whole nother year. And if Nintendo managed to give us all of these games, then they really want to have to start digging, because at that point, we'll almost run out of rare games and Then we'll start looking at selected third-party games. There's obviously some third-party games out there, such as like Turok and like Doom 64, that I was thinking about possibly putting in this list though. However, you can actually already purchase those on the eShop individually because those publishers decided to actually drop it on the eShop themselves though. So, you know what? There's a good chance that we could get a lot of these games out on this list coming out this year though. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below, what games would you like to personally see added to the N64 NSO app? Or is there anything that I didn't manage to have up in my list that you would love to see, or you actually agreeing with some of those games on here though? Because out of everything I had on this list, I think Conker's Bad Fur Day and Smash Bros. 64 are like two of the hot personal highlights, along with Diddy Kong Racing, that I would love to see. If I can only pick a few of them, those probably would happen to be it though. But that's gonna basically do it in terms of today's video though. So if you really like this video, make sure you're gonna hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember y'all, until whatever video I make next, see y'all.